What's up, Paul? John, what's up? When you say someone's basement, do you mean your basement or do you mean someone else's basement? Oh, Heather. Yeah, I was not expecting you at all. That's a big surprise to see you here. I was going into this and I'm like, okay, Marshall's not going to be there and Heather's not going to be there. Great to see you. What changed with your plans? Hopefully nothing bad happened and that's why plans changed. I got Color Out of Space playing in the background. And I will say, off the bat, something I don't like about the film is the runtime. I think is a little much. It's almost 2 hours. I think it's like an hour and 57 with the credits and everything. It's a little long in my opinion. They could have cut it down some, but whatever. Paul, do I watch horror anime? I haven't seen a whole lot of horror anime. I do like anime in general. Have I really seen? I mean, Death Note is kind of horror anime. I have seen that, and that's really all I can think of that's like horror anime. But I've heard good things about like Tokyo Ghoul. I watched High School of the Dead, the one about like the high school students are stuck during a zombie apocalypse. That one I enjoyed. But I do watch anime, so I would take recommendations. Watch Color Out of Space a while back. Yeah, Paul, it's a good flick. You've been kidnapped. You're being forced to rewatch Sewer Baby. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Love it, John. Yeah, but you wouldn't be forced to watch The Suckling. You love The Suckling, John. How many times would you say you've seen that film? I'm going to bet it's pretty large. They changed the time of the screening, so it's too late for me to get there now. Oh, I'm sorry, Heather. So I'm assuming they changed the time of the screening like last minute. Yeah, Paul. High School of the Dead is cool. So you've seen that. Oh, Hellsing. Okay. I've seen a few episodes of the first season of Hellsing. This is a long time ago. Like, I'm talking 12 years ago or something like that. It's been a while, but I need to check that out. Effin Lied? Oh, Elfin Lied? Okay, check that. Paranoia Agent. I've seen Paranoia Agent on some streaming service somewhere. Is that on? That might be on Hulu. Hulu actually has a lot of anime available, and I went through one day and just kind of searched and was just like putting check marks for adding to my list like all this anime. There's like way too much, really. Move my lighting a little bit here. A little bit, I think. Not sure that did a whole lot, but oh, that's better. That did a little bit. Much better. Lots of horror anime. I'm very selective with anime, though. Yeah. Well, in my opinion, you have to be selective with anime because there's really way too much of it out there. There's like an insane amount. I will say one of my favorites, more recent-ish, Sword Art Online. I thought was a lot of fun. It's not horror, but I quite enjoyed that one. And My Hero Academia was fun. At least 8 times for Suckling. Nice. Since I'm stuck being locked in the basement, I'm thinking about putting up some paneling to give it that homey feeling, just like in the house in the Suckling. Well, business. Not really a house, a business. I'm sure it wasn't really zoned as business, though. I was wanting to drop in anyway before I found out the time had been changed, as I was wanting to drop some information. Okay. You mean drop some information as far as the films? Nick Cage made 2 good movies in a row. Mandy, Color Out of Space. He might be on a roll. Well, and there's some similarities between Mandy and Color Out of Space. I felt like a lot of the visual style and color usage was pretty similar. Like a lot of that kind of like purple and pink color combo, which I think looks great. But I will say this, and I know you're going to be disappointed in me, Paul, but I didn't really like Mandy a whole lot. I will rewatch it and do an actual review on it, so maybe I'll feel differently about it the second time. But I didn't really like it because it felt like it was a half-hour movie, like, stretched to 2 hours. And I don't like that. I get that it's, like, a visual experience, and they're really cool visuals, but I wanted more story, and I really needed more story to it, and it's just not there. Plus, I just have a I have beef with Panos Cosmatos anyway because I watched Beyond the Black Rainbow some time ago, and I hated that film, and he bankrolled that film from his father's residuals from working on the film Tombstone, which I think is a great film, and I think him having taken the residuals from Tombstone to make Beyond the Black Rainbow, I thought was an abomination to do that. So, just a personal thing. Richard Stanley is a trip. His history is just as interesting as his films. Yeah, John. I had read that he was doing like a bunch of like documentary film stuff. Actually, some of it like National Geographic ish. After he was done with Island of Dr. Moreau. If nothing else we take away from this stream, remember these two things. He rolls his own cigarettes, and yeah, he does. And he does, or did in the past, LSD. Well, I mean, some of his visuals, you could definitely see that. Like, one of the things for me, and we can just roll this right into talking about Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, which, by the way, that's way too long of a title, in my opinion. They should have cut that down. But that's what David Gregory does, the filmmaker. He's done some other like really interesting sounding and looking documentaries that I want to check out, including a documentary on Joe Spinell, the guy who wrote, directed, and starred in Maniac. Really want to see that one. There were some other ones too. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can pull up my notes, but but the other thing about Richard Stanley, real quick, is for me personally, it's hard for me to listen to him talk. He has a lot of interesting things to say, and I like try to make myself stay engaged. But the biggest problem I keep finding is that he speaks so monotone, like he doesn't have inflection in his voice when he talks. So he speaks a little bit fast. He speaks all monotone one level, and then he will like run sentences together where it feels like he should be stopping. It's just hard to listen to him for lengths of time, but I've done it. I've watched that documentary on him twice, and there's a really good interview with him through the Postmortem podcast that Mick Garris does, where he talks about a lot of stuff, and he had done that interview during the time where Color Out of Space had just come out, so he talked a bit about Color Out of Space. So there's some interesting information that I pulled from that to kind of talk about here. Horror Hound Weekend isn't happening again, but they're doing the film festival online next weekend, if anyone's interested in checking it out. That's cool. Yeah, and on that note, Heather, I was going to actually tell people as well that Salem, Massachusetts, they do like an in-person thing. They started Salem Horror Fest a few years ago, where they would just do all these horror things like panels and movie screenings and all that. So obviously they're not doing the in-person one this year, but they're doing it all online. So if you go to... I have the website somewhere. I need to figure that out. Let me look. I think it's just salemhorror.com. Yeah, salemhorror.com. They're selling packages for weekends because they're doing the first 2 weekends in October, and it tells you each weekend what stuff is available. So you can watch it live if you sign up for one of those and pay for it. Or you can also watch it recorded for a certain amount of time. It'll be available, and that includes like panel discussions and movies and stuff like that. But in addition, they're also doing some meet and greets, like digital meet and greets with celebrities, including Joe Dante, which I think would be awesome. I'm thinking about doing it. So the way they're doing it is you get a digital meet and greet for a little bit of time, where I guess it's like a Zoom or something, and they record it for you, and then will send you the recording after the fact, and they also mail you a poster signed by Joe Dante that they had made specially. Like, the artwork is special just for Salem Horror Fest. So I'm thinking about doing that, and because partially I really want to talk to Joe Dante, ask him a question of if he had been able to direct Jurassic Park, what was his vision for that? Because he was in the running to direct Jurassic Park if the studio he was aligned with had gotten the rights for it. So, just saying. Yes, a poster, Rich. And I got a message from Uncle Pete. Uncle Pete's not going to make it, just so people know he's sick. Man, I hope he gets better soon. I'll just let him know. Hope you feel better soon. Yeah, that sucks. Being sick's no fun, peeps. All right. Yes, Rich, a poster. Did I talk to you about that, Rich? Yeah, this is a great shirt. Pause. Brings two of my favorite things together, horror and cats. I give him much respect. In 1989, he filmed a documentary where he follows a tribe in the Soviet-Afghan War called Voice of the Moon. Whoa. That would be interesting and intense, I would assume. That sounds pretty cool. Horror Hound Weekend is $10 for 3 days. Website is the same name. Yeah, that's way cheaper than what I think. Ugh. Uh-oh. Uncle Pete's a little concerned about potentially being COVID. Hope not. He doesn't have a fever, though, so that's good. So, yeah. So, Salem Horror Fest is not as cheap as Horror Hound. It sounds like Horror Hound Weekend might be more bang for your buck. But Salem Horror Fest is like $79 for one weekend. Or $149 for the entire pass for all of it. But even if you get the $149 for the whole pass, you still have to pay separately for the meet and greet stuff. Like Joe Dante's is like a $125, I think. Yeah, Joe Dante's $125, or you can just pay for the autograph for them to mail to you, and that's just $40. That's not that bad. But the other people they're gonna have: Dee Wallace, Zach Galligan, Robert Picardo, Linnea Quigley, Michael Berryman, Lisa Wilcox, Toy Newkirk, and Tuesday Night. So, if people are interested, like I said, I'm kind of thinking about doing Joe Dante just because I'd like to talk to him about that Jurassic Park thing, and I would really like to have an autograph from Joe Dante because I like a lot of his stuff. I mean, love The Howling, Piranha, love Piranha, Gremlins, obviously. All right, anyway. Yeah, I'll tell you about it later, Rich. Or maybe you heard enough. Voice of the Moon can be found on YouTube. Oh, cool, John. I will check that out. I will definitely check that out. Really? You love listening to him speak? I just feel like that could put me to sleep. Like, legitimately, if I just put on a recording of Richard Stanley speaking, he would put me to sleep. It would happen. My wife, I tried to get her, she's coming downstairs, I tried to get her to watch that documentary with me, and she just, like, after very little time, checked out, because she's like, I can't listen to this guy. Like, I just can't. Like, yeah, I know. It happens. But anyway, what did everyone think of the documentary? Thoughts, overall thoughts. I mean, the first thing that, after I watched it, that really occurred to me was, that's crazy. What a mess. That was my biggest thought. Watched a bunch of his interviews and they were fascinating. Yeah, and that's the thing, John. Like I was saying, like he has really interesting things to say, and he comes off as being a particularly intelligent person, and you can tell that easily in the documentary, especially with the setup of it, which I think the setup to the documentary is really good because they give you his perspective. They kind of get you caught up with where he was in his life when he got the opportunity to direct Island of Dr. Moreau, and then also went into what his vision was at that time for the film, and him just like diving into all these ideas he had for it and his overall vision was really interesting and very, very cerebral. And for that reason, I think that it further reinforces when you watch the documentary that with all the stuff that happened, once they removed Richard Stanley, that film was not going to work. Because when you go into a film with that high of a budget, and the person who did the script and starts the directing has such a clear vision, you take them out of the equation and you put someone in who didn't do the script, is fine with changing things on the fly, and doesn't really have a vision for it, and also kind of seems like they're not 100% feeling invested in it, you're not going to get a good product. There's absolutely no way. And I know that Bob Shea said in one of his interviews in it that, you know, it didn't do well. It lost money, but it didn't lose as much money as if they hadn't put it out at all. But the other thing with that is there are other things they could have done to just make sure it got done. And the fact that, I mean, yeah, they could have even left Richard Stanley in place as the director and just been like, you know, push him forward, make him, you know, move a little bit quicker, and just get something out of it. You know, this ties into like, I know it doesn't sound like a great idea, but it worked out somehow. I just watched the film Vampire Circus, the 1972 film by Hammer, the Hammer Studios. So Robert Young directed that one, and it was his first feature-length film directing. He didn't know that Hammer ran a tight ship with their production schedule, so it was supposed to be a 6-week shoot. He took too much time on a bunch of shots, ended up crossing into the 7th week, and Hammer just stepped in and shut it down and just said, give us all the footage. They took that footage, gave it to an outside editor, and said, cobble it together, make a movie. And if you watch that movie, it's good. Like, it worked. It still holds up. So, could have worked with Island of Dr. Moreau. I'm just saying. First, I thought the film Dr. M was an okay movie. Oh, you thought Dr. Moreau was okay and not just garbage? It's been a long time since I've seen the Island of Dr. Moreau, so I need to revisit that, especially after watching the documentary again. But yeah, Paul, we just started talking about Island of Dr. Moreau, or the documentary about it, Lost Soul. So anything you have to say about it, start throwing it out there. It was interesting hearing how a movie can go bad thanks to egos. Yeah, Heather, and that was one of the most maddening things, in my opinion, is people who are supposed to be professionals and good at what they do, Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando, were just jerks. Like, it seems like Kilmer was just a jerk because he has a big ego. Like, he was just being a jerk and letting his attitude get the best of everything. And Marlon Brando, it seemed like, wasn't even taking it seriously and was enjoying the idea of messing with people and messing with the film. I know someone at one point in their interview had said something about let's screw with Bob Shea. Like, you're supposed to be a professional, man. Like, I don't know. Like, what a terrible thing. They probably could have. I think getting Marlon Brando was the biggest problem. If they had Kilmer but didn't get Brando, I think they still could have been okay. But with Marlon Brando, him putting his hands on everything and trying to do everything on the fly and change casting and all that crap, is just such a mess. And the fact that Frankenheimer didn't do really anything about it, that was baffling to me, because everyone said that he was like this still old school, take charge, yell at you director. But then Brando shows up and it's like he just relinquishes control to Brando. I don't know. It just didn't make sense. Like, what was his problem? Once again, another situation. Like Kilmer and Brando, you're supposed to be a professional. This is your job. This is what you're getting paid to do. Frankenheimer, same thing. This is your job. This is what you're paid to do. And what I would have done if I was Frankenheimer, when Brando kept coming up with all those ideas of let's do it this way, do the old thing of, we'll do it one take your way, we'll do it one take my way, and then in editing we'll see, we'll use the best one. And then just don't use any of his stuff. He had directed 2 full-length movies before Dr. Moreau, Hardware and Dust Devil. Yeah, John, and I've seen Dust Devil, and I thought it was okay. I still need to see Hardware. I've heard really good things about it, and it's been on my list to watch for many years, so I'll eventually get to it. But Dust Devil, I was like, it's alright. He didn't have a chance with the Dr. Moreau film. Once Brando and Val Kilmer arrived, he didn't know how to handle the pressure. Agreed. And I think John, to that point, and I think you're right about that. I think he wasn't ready to by himself handle a large budget production like that, because the two films he did prior were very low budget. And when people are working on lower budget films, they usually don't have big egos, and they're more willing to just listen to the vision and the direction of that writer director. So I just don't think he was ready to take that step, and he was also young. He was in his early 20s, and I just don't think he was able to take on that responsibility, because you also have to consider there's an age difference. Like Brando and Kilmer showing up and being older than this director, there's no respect there. Also, the fact that he isn't established, there's no respect there for that either. I think the studio needed to get more involved and kind of step in and lay down some ground rules and back up Richard Stanley. But what it sounds like is they hired him, they didn't know a whole lot about him or his personality, and then just let it go and didn't back him up, didn't help him out at all. Like, he kind of needed to be protected and coddled a little bit in order to make it happen, in my opinion. Paul, not a fan of the documentary, Paul? There are three versions of the Island film. The first one in 1933 was the best. The Brando version came in second. Got it. Actress Fairuza Balk said during the interview that she shouldn't worry about anything. He didn't. That's when I realized not to take this film too seriously. Yeah, I got you, John. Brando told her not to worry about anything. Yeah, I remember that. Hardware's great. That guy from Friends is in it. Who from Friends is in Hardware? He was looking forward to working with Bruce Willis and James Woods, but they eventually had to be replaced. Yeah, and that's unfortunate too. Like, and that speaks to another thing of like what film, even if Richard Stanley still had been removed, what film would we have gotten with Willis and Woods? I mean, definitely a better one, no matter what, because that combo of Brando and Kilmer was just, whew. The studio just wanted the big names to make them money. That is all they cared about. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's one of the problems, because I feel like they just have these stupid tendencies to be like, well, this is how you do things. But it's not necessarily how you have to do things. So, like, let's get a big name and then we'll make more money. Okay, I guess you can bring more people to the theater and make more money if you have big names. But at the same time, if you make a good movie and you get screeners to people who will give you good reviews, that also gets people to the theater and will get more money to you. So I feel like the get a big name thing is kind of lazy. And the other thing is, you don't have to get Marlon Brando. You can get another big name. You don't have to get Brando, because they even said at one point, Bob Shaye said that they had worked with him on another film prior to that, and he was a pain. He was a terror. So they had to know at least a little bit of what they were getting into with him. So there were so many red flags that they just didn't listen, they didn't recognize, or chose to just be like, whatever. I just felt like they needed to be more involved. I'm usually about telling studios to not be as involved, but in this instance, I really think they needed to be more involved. So, Paul, you didn't like the movie? Yeah, sorry. Why didn't you like that documentary? It was... I mean, I think even if you don't like the structure of the documentary, I think just the story behind that documentary is interesting. And crazy. And maddening at times. Sorry, not Friends. The actor was Dylan McDermott. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yep. So, what else from that documentary? Um, Even though it wasn't. Why is this lighting? Hold on, I need to mess with this lighting a little bit. Better-ish. One of the problems is the camera on this laptop does this kind of like adjusting of the light on its own, and it doesn't do a good job. Let me move this. No, that's like actually. See, that's better, and that's probably gonna get worse. Whatever. We'll we'll figure this out. Anyway. Um, what else? I think Brando's daughter's self-deleting made it worse for him. Oh yeah, I think when that happened, he was just like he didn't care about anything. Obviously, it's just like his kind of like I think he lost a part of his will to go on and rolled into that, do a good job at his profession. And that's understandable. And that's another thing that really should have been taken into consideration when they were looking at casting him in conjunction with having already worked on him and him having been a problem before. Best quote about Val Kilmer I've ever heard. Yeah. The studio wanted Roman Polanski to direct a film, but Brando did like Richard, and that kept Richard in the beginning. Yeah. But then, like, that's what I don't get, though, is like, if you like someone, wouldn't you, like, give them some respect? Because it seems like there just wasn't any respect there. But I also think that part of that may have been kind of Richard Stanley's demeanor, his attitude, and his personality. Because it seems like he also wasn't really able to take charge, and that he also kind of withdrew himself a lot based off a lot of the interviews, including his own. And then the aspect of when he got fired, like shredding pages, that's just bad. Like, you don't want to be that person. I mean, I don't want to be that person. It makes you know better than the people that you're mad at. Although I do think it was awesome how in the end, and I didn't see it coming the first time I watched the documentary, how in the end he actually ends up being in the film as one of the extras. That was nuts. Well, actually, backtracking even further, the fact that he never went to his flight and he was living in the woods, and then some dudes from the production end up finding him. It's just a wacky story. He's an interesting dude. Richard Stanley. Interesting dude. Sorry, watching Trump rally at the same time. Can't do two things at once, man. Makes it tougher. Richard is very eclectic. Richard mixed spaghetti westerns with sci-fi and goth. Yeah, I saw that. I definitely saw that in Dust Devil, and from what I've heard, that is the case with Hardware. Richard did get his full pay, though. Yeah, that's a good point, John. At least he got paid. I mean, and that goes to one of the things of the shredding of documents too. Like, you got your full salary, dude. Like, don't go shredding those documents. Come on now. Sorry about that. Clear my throat. But I am glad that he got his full salary. Because that would have been terrible if they're like, you're out and here's half your pay or something. He directed a lot of music videos with goth music. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting, John. I'll have to see if I can find some. Is Replace any good? I haven't seen it. I think I read a review on it. I think I read a review on it in a Rue Morgue magazine. But I can't remember fully. Oh, yeah, I think I did. Okay, I think it was in a Rue Morgue magazine because I actually remember adding it to my queue, my DVD queue for Netflix. So there was a positive review done in Rue Morgue magazine, I will say that. So I can't say whether it's good or not, but someone that a magazine I typically trust said that it was at least decent. So I'd give it a shot, man. Why not? Oh, here comes the finger. Oh, the finger scene just happened in Color Out of Space. Which just like cuts those fingers off. That's crazy stuff. All right. Anything else about the documentary? I feel like there's not a ton to say about it because it's not a normal storied film in the sense of, oh, there's the subtext and there are these themes, and the lighting was interesting and stuff like that. But I find it more interesting from the standpoint of the just getting that crazy backstory on what happened to Richard Stanley, and then rolling that into talking about Color Out of Space, because it's his triumphant return after he was, as some people would say, done dirty in a way, and then he swore everything off. Directed a music video for Simon Boswell featuring Dario Argento. So wait, like Dario Argento on screen in the video? Because, like, I don't know who would decide to do that. I mean, like, if people know who it is, like, okay, but, like, he's not, I don't know. He's a person for behind the camera, you know? And it's just interesting you bring up Argento. I'm not going to say why at the moment, but later I will say why. Color Out of Space kind of reminded me of the first episode of Creepshow series. Oh, so with, like, yeah, the coloration and everything. Spiders freak him out. Spiders freak Richard Stanley out? Think he'll always be a niche director. Yeah, and you're probably right about that, John, that he'll always be that type of director. And if that is the case, I think if he continues to make films with Spectre Vision, that's a good home for him, because that's kind of what Elijah Wood and the Spectre Vision company have kind of been about. It's about, doing these more fringe horror films. I've seen, like, Daniel Isn't Real is a good example of one of those kind of fringe horror films. I didn't really like that film, but there are good things about it. I think, well, like like the other Spectre Vision films, it looked good visually. It's just story-wise, I wasn't really a fan of it. It's very, like, disconnected as well. Didn't flow. Okay, so if that's all we needed to talk about or wanted to talk about with the documentary, then let's go ahead and roll into Color Out of Space and our overall feelings on it, feelings on what's trying to be said. I will say up front, I've not read the story, the H.P. Lovecraft story that it's based on, but I did watch it 2 times and took notes and stuff. He was also a extra and plays a fish person wearing his hat on the movie Dagon. Have I seen Dagon? I think I've seen parts of Dagon. I haven't seen the whole thing. But for some reason, I don't know why, when I think of Dagon, I think of Lair the White Worm, which that's a wacky movie. I need to rewatch that. The first time I watched it, I was just kind of turned off by how wacky it was because I wasn't expecting that. So I kind of need to go back. Yeah, so thoughts on Color Out of Space. And I don't know if anyone knows, but the kind of life situation that Richard Stanley had while he was writing the script for Color Out of Space, it influenced it a lot, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, obviously I'll tell you. Color Out of Space, the actor Elijah Wood was one of the producers. Yep. Yeah, because Elijah Wood owns Spectre Vision. That's his. So obviously he has a relationship with Nicolas Cage because Spectre Vision also did Mandy. And I think one of the interesting tie-ins between those two films, other than just Nicolas Cage, are freak-out scenes with Nicolas Cage, which Mandy has the best Nicolas Cage freak-out scene of the two, but there is that mini freak-out scene in Color Out of Space where he's in the car and he starts, like, losing it. That was fun. But yeah, for Nicolas Cage freakout scenes, I do prefer Mandy, even though I'm not a huge fan of the film. Blade Disgusting published an article the other day, 10 movies inspired by Lovecraft stories. And there are a lot, even ones that it's like little pieces. Even like Batman has inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft because they use Arkham. Arkham is a place that was created by H.P. Lovecraft, and Miskatonic and Miskatonic University as well. One of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft inspired films is Reanimator. Excellent, excellent film. Richard Stanley's Lovecraft trilogy plans Color Out of Space, The Dunwich Horror, and to be decided at a later date. Yeah, I had heard and that was something that was talked about on that podcast, the Postmortem podcast with Mick Garris. So that was pretty cool. He kind of like announced it at the end of the podcast that I'm planning on doing 2 more films. And based off what I saw in Color Out of Space, I mean, I'm down to check out another one. Maniac remake with Elijah Wood was a good movie. Yeah, Paul, I keep hearing that, and once again, it's another one of those films that's been on my list to get to for quite some time now. It'll happen eventually. Nicolas Cage would like to play the role of Herbert West in a remake of The Reanimator. Is that like you found that from a reliable source? That's an actual thing, John. I mean, part of me's like no, but part of me's like I feel like I have to see what that would be. I think I'm more on the side of I would have to see what that would be, and I'm curious about that. Color was a good film. The special effects were excellent. Yeah, I mean visually, it's so good visually. It's a bit slow, and I could see where a lot of people wouldn't be huge on it because it is kind of slow. But I feel like you also need it to be slower because it needs to feel like a real progression of events. Because that's kind of one of the things I feel like they're trying to get through is that when this entity from another world shows up, it's not like it's this instantaneous thing. Like changes happen gradually over time. And I think that's also an intentional way that the script was written because it ties into, I think, what Richard Stanley was trying to, on a subtext level, talk about. And that is, he wrote the script after his mother had passed from cancer. And he was talking about it in that Postmortem podcast that it was a really hard thing for him to go through and see the deterioration of his mother and her from going from being physically and mentally this person that he knew to someone that he couldn't recognize physically and mentally. And that deterioration you can see with the whole family in Color Out of Space. And you can see that there's that kind of connection between the color out of space that shows up and kind of being cancer in a way because of the way it kind of spreads and acts within nature in the film. Dunwich Horror Story is pretty boring. Oh, I haven't read it, Paul, so, I mean, I don't know. Haven't read it. Maybe. Del Toro was supposed to be making At the Mountain of Madness. Yeah, I had heard about that one, Paul. That was definitely something that I had heard about some time ago, but then I can't remember what actually happened with that one. That was one that they talked about quite a bit, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's not happening anymore. Let me know if you know what happened to that one. That's what Richard stated. I think Cage would be too old for the role of West. Well, I mean, you can always just change the age. I don't see the age of Herbert West being that important to the actual role necessarily. I mean, obviously you'd have to change the fact that he's like enrolled in the college and everything, but that shouldn't be too hard to work around, I wouldn't think. Color is a niche movie. Richard says it made a profit, but I can't find any info stating that. Yeah, from what I had seen, at least theatrically, it did not make a profit. It lost a bunch of money. I think it was like a $12 million budget, and it made like 1 point something in the theater. So, I mean, if it made a profit, it's probably from selling to streaming and selling physical copies of it. And maybe that is the case because I after it came out, I heard a lot from a lot of people in the horror community, and all positive. I didn't hear anyone say it was a bad movie or that they were in the middle. I heard so many people just raving. Beyond Reanimator is hilarious in the prison. I actually haven't seen Beyond Reanimator, Paul. That's another one that's been on my list. Eventually I'll get to it. He used to read to his mother H.P. Lovecraft stories as she was dying. He got his love of Lovecraft from his mother. Yeah, 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 John. And from what I understand, they would read Lovecraft when he was younger as well. It wasn't just later in life when she was dying. Color was filmed on a beautiful location in Portugal. Yeah, it is beautiful. And the way they shoot the visuals for the forest just looks so cool. And then once you add that kind of pink coloration to it, that's another thing that I really love about it. It just looks so nice. And on the color, notice that in the film, initially Nicolas Cage's character Nathan refers to the color as pink, but then later he states that it's a color he's never seen before. So I wonder if that was kind of a situation where, as a human being, when you experience something, you try and kind of like filter it through everything you know in your mind and look at it that way and try and, make the connection to the closest thing possible. And then later on, he just realizes, well, it's not really pink, it's something else. I don't even know. Because he then kind of accepts the fact that this is something otherworldly and he can't really wrap his head around it. Or maybe it was a situation where it actually was pink to him initially, and then later his mind has changed and everything has changed so much because of this kind of infection from the color that he just doesn't know anymore. It's like a mental thing, which that could kind of roll into the situation with the writing about cancer and the deterioration of the mind with Richard Stanley's mother. It was shelved. Okay, probably come out in a few years. Okay, Mountains of Madness. Yeah, not a great story either. Paul, it sounds like well, Paul, do you have any H.P. Lovecraft stories you think are good? Because it sounds like you don't like any of the stories, that's fine. I don't care. He said it made type of profit when overseas deal. Oh, okay, overseas. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I've heard plenty of times where films like domestically flop, but overseas they're huge. So yeah, okay, I can see that. I read a graphic novel version recently. It was pretty good. Oh, cool. A lot of Lovecraft stories have been made into comic and graphic novels. I read Dunwich horror graphic novels too. Oh, interesting. That's really cool, Paul. Which reminds me, because it is Lovecraft and tied in, I just found out recently that there is a Army of Darkness versus Reanimator comic book out there that was released in like 2006. I'm thinking about signing up for Comixology because they have it and just like read it online because that sounds awesome. Really am compelled to check that out. Tommy Chong. Yeah, Tommy Chong was good in it, John. And he played a great character. Like, first of all, he's a stoner dude who communes with nature, basically. But then later, when he's kind of like this ominous, shamanic type dude who's like, I don't know, like reciting some sort of prophecy in a way, it works. And how they like messed with his voice. He became very eerie and creepy at that point. I've read a lot of them, a lot of audio versions on YouTube too. Oh, cool. Worth checking out. Okay, cool. Thanks, Paul. Hardware is available on Amazon Prime. Ooh, I don't have Amazon Prime, unfortunately. But I will watch Hardware at some point. Oh, Paul, you have Reanimator versus Army of Darkness? There are a couple. Yeah. If you have an iPad, get an app called Comic Glass, and you can download Comic Cough. Got it. I got it. So please tell me, Paul, is it good? Is it worth reading? I gotta know. I gotta know. Because it sounds like it is. It sounds great to me. Okay, so did anyone know? Oh, real quick. Years ago, I went with a friend to Rhode Island for a Lovecraft convention. Oh, cool. I went on a tour of the city where they pointed out places thought to have made it in his stories. Oh, that's awesome, Heather. That would be really cool. I guess it was like a bus tour or something. Okay. Thank you, Paul. It is good. Awesome. I'm going to check that out. And something I wanted to bring up, I don't know, did anyone notice the book? There's a scene where the guy, I forget his name, the dude who was the hydrologist in Color Out of Space, where he's in the woods and it's like dark, and then all of a sudden there's like headlights that shine on him, and he like holds up a book in his hand to like shield his face from the lights because it's so intense. Did you happen to see what that book was? Because it's important. And I thought so when I was initially watching the film, because they made a point of him not just like holding it up and you can't see it, like holding it so that you can intentionally see what the book is. A walking tour. It was fun even though I wasn't really into Lovecraft a lot at the time. Sure, I mean, just learning things. Totally cool. I'm down with it. That's cool. There's Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Yeah, that's another one I want to check out, Paul. Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness. That sounds interesting. Ash saves Obama. That's a thing? That seems weird that they would even do something like that. Like having a political aspect. Well, that's weird. Darkman versus Army of Darkness. Yeah, I knew about that one as well. But yeah, out of all of those, the ones that really jumped out to me were the Reanimator one and the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, obviously. Because who, as a horror nerd, who isn't interested in that one, really? Oh, my allergy med's running out. I can tell. I'm starting to get all stuffed up. Richard is also big on alternative religions. Oh, yeah, that shows not just in his filmmaking, but that really shows in his lifestyle, really. He was like, well, and also you can see in Color Out of Space. I mean, he's worked in witchcraft in there. He's got the Necronomicon showing up. He's, kind of, well, I was going to say, like, kind of creating religion a little bit out of the color, but I guess that's not really the best way to say it. Like, there are certain aspects of a religion in people's beliefs of, alien beings and stuff like that. So the book, by the way, is Paul. By the way, my wife has an iPad. I can potentially use hers for comic class. So thank you. So the book that shows up in Color Out of Space that the guy's holding up is The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. Now, Algernon Blackwood was an author who actually inspired H.P. Lovecraft. And the book The Willows has a lot of stuff that kind of ended up showing up in Color Out of Space. So that's why the book shows up in the film, because it's this nod to, yes, this is based off of H.P. Lovecraft, but H.P. Lovecraft was based off of Algernon Blackwood. And the other thing is, if you look up the synopsis and information about the book The Willows, it's a similar story in the sense that it's about, it's like two guys taking a trip down a river, and then the woods start to kind of take on a more human personality, and they start feeling kind of like sinister and coming alive in a sense. And especially with the way the shots are in the beginning of Color Out of Space, you can see a similarity there because they focus on the gigantic trees so much, and then and the way they kind of like were moving, that they almost seem a little bit alive. And then
towards the end of the film, they actually are moving. Like, they are alive because of the color. One of the other things I think that's really interesting about this film is that the deterioration of everyone feels very interesting, and it feels like if something like that were to happen, that they executed it realistically in the film. As in, it kind of slowly happens, and people's minds really start to go, their senses start to go. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the biggest breakdown ends up being communication with the characters. And it's not just like the ability to the way they speak to each other, because there's the modes of like being flip-flopping between being normal or being more agitated, but then there's also like not being able to understand, because it seems like a lot of the times when they're communicating to each other, it's like the one person's talking at the other person, and then the other person is just looking at the person without actually hearing anything they're saying. So it's this barrier that kind of comes up of the person talking not being able to appropriately communicate to the other person, and the person on the other side not even being able to receive the information that the person's giving them verbally. It's interesting, which I think kind of speaks to normally what a breakdown can be like in a family anyway. When families start to become dysfunctional and they malfunction, I mean, that's what basically ends up happening is people start having these mood swings like that, and people can't communicate well. But I think it's less of that intended and more of the cancer aspect with, how that mentally changes a person when they're deteriorating like that. The part where the mother cut her fingers off was creepy as hell. Loved it. Yeah, I totally agree with that, John. Great scene. And in addition to that, the fact that it's not only just like the fact that she cut him off, but no reaction. And then like she literally turns around and like holds her hand up because she's just talking, and just like these nubs with just blood coming, and no reaction still. It's like she can't feel, which actually gives you the idea that the infection that they have, these foreign bodies inside them from the color out of space, is blocking pain receptors at that point. Like it's changed her mind so much that like her body, like her mind's not even communicating with her own body at that point. It's crazy. Yeah, a lot of Lovecraft audiobooks on YouTube. Cool. Richard gave mother and son bonding a new meaning. John, yes. And the way that happened, like that is distressing. The scene and how Richard Stanley shot that, it's like disturbing, it's distressing, it's creepy. And then later on, when they morph even further and become even more kind of like a feral animal, at the very end of it, it's like really creepy and disturbing. Like right before they kill her, them kill them. Rats in the walls. I think Richard will try to connect color with the next film, The Dunwich Horror. Almost make it a sequel. That would be interesting. It could be really cool because he could just keep like growing this crazy experiential interdimensional cosmic thing. I know a lot of people talk about Lovecraft as being like cosmic horror, and that's why a lot of people actually don't attempt it in film, because it's not easy to pull off. This Okay, so the part that's on right now is the part where Nicolas Cage is walking through his garden harvesting all those tomatoes that just grew real quick. The look on his face as he's doing it is just so funny. What's with this lighting? The look on his face is hilarious. He's walking through and he's like... It cracks me up. His acting cracks me up all the time, man. And he has this way of delivering lines, too. And it mainly just comes out in this film when he is at the parts where he's agitated, and he's like, how does it go? Like, I'm trying to think of how the accent is, basically. If he's saying, like, do the thing I need you to do, he's like, just do the thing that I need you to do. It's just so funny to me. Four issues. Check it out. Crazy Eyes. Yeah, Crazy Eyes. The mixing of DNA and color is somewhat similar to the events in Annihilation. Good point, John. That's a really good parallel. Well, and that's the other thing, is Annihilation is very H.P. Lovecraft driven as well. That is very much cosmic horror as well. So it's really coming from the same point of influence. And yeah, I would put them in the same, like, subgenre within horror for sure. Very interesting. But yeah, awesome point on that. Great point on that. Phil, what up? Phil's Creepy Videos, buddy. How you doing, man? We're talking about Color Out of Space in the moment. In the moment. At the moment. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired. Yeah, the Paw shirt. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm a fan. Yeah, Color Out of Space is cool, man. Your thoughts, Phil? Let's talk. We've been talking about it for a little bit, so what are your thoughts on Color Out of Space? Oh, and here's another cool thing, like, the little bits and pieces of where they put the colors within the film, like, this just reminded me. It's the part where Nick Cage's character is sitting down to have a drink. He's having, like, some bourbon, and he puts the ice cubes in his glass, and you see the little flecks of color in it. Like, there's a little portion of pink in there, and there's a little portion of the purple in there. So you see that he's actually drinking these foreign bodies that came from space, basically. And it seems like the main thing that ties everything together is the seeping of this foreign body into the water, because the water kind of feeds everything, which kind of then goes to, like, a pollution point. Yeah, they make his rash look pretty gnarly too. Like, it looks like real scaly, gross skin. And I love the fact that, like, they have that happen and it keeps, like, getting bigger and bigger and grosser and grosser. And then the fact that he always is scratching it too. Acting wise, that's really good. A lot of shots of the house look really good too. The ones outside, especially at night, with the way that they have the lights configured. The Cursed Stars, Will Wheaton. Oh wait, sorry, I fell behind. Now subbed to Phil's Creepy Videos. Cool. The 80s movie The Curse is based on the same source material. Really? I don't think I've seen that. I guess I need to. With Will Wheaton in it? Well, now I gotta check it out. Thanks, Phil. Best to watch Ultra HD. Same with Mandy. Well, yeah, I mean, they're very much about the visuals, so yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Paul. Cage going off in color is similar to the movies, with the great line from The Wicker Man, the bees. Yeah, not the bees. Also, when he goes off on the lady with the alphabet speech. Yeah. I've actually not seen the remake of Wicker Man. I love the original Wicker Man. I think it's awesome. I haven't seen the remake, but I know I need to because of Nicolas Cage's acting and how legendary it is with that film. I never watched the remake of The Wicker Man. Not a fan of the OG. Oh, Paul. Rewatch the original Wicker Man. Maybe revisiting it will do something for you. Maybe not, but maybe it will. I think it's great. I mean, Christopher Lee, his performance in that is really good. Loved in Color Out of Space how they went with practical effects whenever possible. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with, like, the Thing-esque llama pile, and then, like we were talking about earlier, the fusion of the mother and son. Yeah, those look good. And design-wise, I loved the look of that little, like, pink and purple praying mantis that flies out of, I think it flies out of the well at one point. Okay, so here's a question for everyone. I want to find out what everyone thinks. What's your opinion on this with the film? Does the witchcraft that Lavernia does in the beginning of the film bring the color out of space? Because it happens after she's been doing that ritual, and then she goes and does another ritual, which is what's on the screen at the moment, in her circle, and they make a point of showing the Necronomicon there, and she's doing the part where she like cuts herself up, and then she basically doesn't she end up like having a big burst of the color like in her, and it like she becomes like the epicenter of like this big blast basically. So did she do it? Like I feel like there's a little bit of an insinuation that that's what did that. Nothing happens, then the burn at the end. Wicker Man, yeah, I mean it's slow. It's slow, Paul, and that's the thing. Like a lot of older films like that, they're slower. Over time with film in general in the U.S., it's changed to let's get to the story faster. Let's move it along a lot quicker. So if you're more used to that, yeah, it's a little tougher to watch. So Paul, you're saying you think that the witchcraft did it? Because I kind of got that feeling. I felt like there were enough inklings in the film to tell me that. Cool. Got it, Paul. All right. God, with this lighting. What the hell, man? You know what? Hold on. Maybe if I turn this one light off. I turn this one on more. Sometimes when I have competing lights, it doesn't work out too well. Oh, they're showing the llama thing. And here, is that normal? Like the way the llama looks, they do like a close up of the face, and then they make a point of showing the pupils, and the pupil in the one eyeball looks like two pupils kind of coming together. Oh, this is the fusion part where the mom and son are coming together. The sound they make is just unbelievably distressing after they've been, put together. Where is the other thoughts on the film? And if everyone, a few things, other any finishing thoughts or additional thoughts about Color Out of Space, and if not, if you guys want to talk about some other stuff, horror related. Stanley is a gothic cowboy. Yeah, especially with how he dresses. They aren't llamas, they're, oh, yeah, alpacas, that's right. The animal of choice. Yeah. They're not llamas, they're alpacas. That's my Nick Cage. One of the interesting things about the film, I think, too, is that when they establish the family, they each have their own personalities, and they're all out there, like, secluded, living in nature, but they all have, like, one thing that's really tying them back to civilized society, more modern society. Like, I can't think of them all at the moment, but for example, like the mom and teleworking, and the daughter and wanting to have fast food, things like that. But there's only one character who doesn't have any real tie to like modern society, and that's Nick Cage's Nathan. And it seems like he's the most influenced by The Color Out of Space too, kind of, I think it may be indicating that, like, since he's closer to nature, he's more affected by it because it's something that came in and infected nature first. So the closer a person was to it, the more it influenced them. That's a beautiful shot right there. The one where he was just in the car trying to start it and realized it doesn't start, freaked out, and then he gets out and he's standing there, and it's like this longer shot of like all the woods and a portion of the house, and just like all the pink coloration on everything. It just looks so good. Visually outstanding. Visually it was dope. Yeah, Rich. Nick Cage. Yeah. It's kind of all you need to say. Nick Cage, yeah. Yeah, the story would be interesting to read, definitely, Rich, after having seen the film. Did you watch Mom and Dad with Nick Cage? You know, it's interesting, Phil, because every time I watch Color Out of Space, I think of Mom and Dad. Because his acting and his character is very similar, and what happens is very similar. Like, the mom and dad become infected with something that, like, makes them aggressive towards their children and try and kill them. It seems very similar. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's a good point. I assume that's where you're going with it, that it's very similar. I mean, acting-wise, it's the same for Nick Cage. Actually, I enjoyed Mom and Dad. I thought it was a fun movie. Cool, Paul. Thank you for that. I might do that. The audiobook of Color Out of Space on YouTube. Yep, I might do that. That way I can listen while I'm working. It's interesting when Lavernia, like, she carved on her forehead that, like, diamond. I like how at the end it ends up like glowing pink. It's pretty cool. Okay, got it, John. Thank you. That the alpaca's eyes actually look like that normally. Okay, I wasn't sure that when they show the close up if they were trying to like focus on the fact that it created like two pupils, or if that's just the way their eyes look. Mm. Yeah, his rant in the basement in Mom and Dad reminds me of his rant in Color Out of Space. Yeah, pretty similar. Pretty similar. Yeah, ugh. Just like every scene with the mom and son combo is just disturbing, unsettling. DVDs, nuts, and popcorn. Oh, what's up? Oh, Tight White. What's up, man? Mr. Tight White. New channel about movies and food. Cool, cool. Oh, okay. You're getting a beer. Please inform us what beer. And what do you want me to call you? Since you've used a few names now. Do you want me to call you Mr. Tightwhite? Do you want me to call you DVD's Nuts? Do you just want me to call you Nuts, D's Nuts, or a different name? Just let me know. Not sure if you've seen this from Richard about the plot of his Dunwich Horror. No, I haven't seen this, so thank you for putting this in. Backward MAGA era hillbillies who have interbred with ultra-dimensional demons from beyond space. Okay, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. That's kind of conceptually high concept. Okay. Hillbillies inbred. Okay, so thinking Wrong Turn with ultra-dimensional demons from beyond space. Interesting. I don't know how you do that film though. Like what does that become? I don't know. I mean, it sounds intriguing though actually. Tight White sounds better. Yeah, okay, I'll just say Tight White. Got it. You got it, man. Yeah, I had not heard that from Richard Stanley. That's interesting. But, based off of Color Out of Space, I'll watch whatever his next movie is because I'm curious. If for nothing other than the visuals. Nothing happens in the Dunwich till the end. Same with Mountains of Madness. So I'm wondering if maybe that he would do like an update to the story just to make it more engaging. We'll see. It's possible. Oh, so by the way, I have the movies for the next one already picked out. I'm excited about that. And it's inspired by my Rue Morgue magazine that I just got. According to an interview, he has witches babysit his cat when he's gone. I mean, honestly, I don't know what my cat sitter does. Like we have a cat sitter when we go away because our cat is very high maintenance. She's not like a cat. She's like a dog. She's very much like a dog. So our cat sitter, like, I don't know what religion she practices. So she might be Wiccan or something. I don't know. I could care less. She takes good care of my cat. That's what matters. But I'm assuming it's a situation where when it says witches babysit his cat, I would assume it's a situation where it's just people he knows who are witches, as opposed to random people he doesn't know putting an ad saying seeking witch to babysit my cat. Title of the article is Director Richard Stanley, A Coven of Witches Was Using My House. They left a bit of a mess. Yeah, I could see that. That could be a problem. Where is this article? Because that's a wacky article. Sounds like a National Enquirer or something. It's just like Bat Boy found in wilderness. By the way, I want to do a plug. I'm gonna grab it. I want to do a plug for Rue Morgue magazine. Have any of you guys read Rue Morgue magazine, or have you seen it or know about it? Let me know. Because I got if you're considering signing up for it, now this isn't like a sponsorship or anything like that. I just love the magazine. I've been a subscriber for like 12 years. I love it, love it, love it. They have just put out their special Halloween issue for every Halloween. They have a double issue that comes out. So this one cover story is the golden age of Italian horror, which I'm very, very, very excited about. So it's extra thick, literally a double issue. So the way they publish, it's one issue for every 2 months. So it's like January, February, March, April, So this is September, October. Really good articles. And one of the things I love about this magazine is that they do more intellectual writing. It's not just like, this movie looks good, it's cool, it has good gore. It's like really doing some awesome intellectual deep dives on stuff. They've had some really, really cool articles about kind of historical deep dives on subjects. Like they had one recently about the kind of tying into the pandemic. They were looking at pandemics and epidemics in horror and kind of tracing it back throughout history. Pretty cool. They also had, it wasn't an article, but it was like a 1-page thing on like the breakdown of the plague doctor outfit, which was really cool, and told you like every portion of the plague doctor outfit and what its actual purpose was during the Black Plague. Pretty awesome. It's a great magazine. Anyone read 40 in Times? Some cool Lovecraft articles in there. I've heard of 40 in Times. I just haven't. One of my problems is I don't read a lot. I'm more of, a visual person, more into film. So When I have one magazine, which is my Rue Morgue, that's as much as I can read. Although at the moment I am reading the original Shining, Stephen King Shining book, which I haven't read before, so it's about time. Since I'm moving out of country next year, I'm cutting expenses now. Makes sense. Netflix is coming close to being next on the chopping block. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, John. I mean, especially if you're big into horror, you don't need Netflix because their selections on horror, every now and then they get something good, but for the most part, nah. I saw an article that was like, all the new horror coming to Netflix for October, and I read through it, and it's like, there was nothing in that to make me excited for what they're getting for horror movies. I was like, garbage. I mean, I have Netflix and I'll watch it for other stuff. I do like other things they have, but their horror genre is poorly run. You can always get a hacked Fire Stick. All right. I do like their DVD selection though. Yes. Which I think you might have an option to just do the DVD thing. And you're totally right, John. I mean that there's a reason I've had their DVD service since I think I've had it for like 13 years or something like that. I've had it ever since I started using Netflix. It's so worth it for these older horror DVDs. Which, by the way, the next one I'm getting, I just watched um, Ex Machina by Alex Garland, the guy who directed Annihilation. I just watched that through Netflix DVD. Good film. I definitely enjoyed that one. I know a bunch of people, Heather, I know you had recommended it, and I think Marshall as well. Yeah, it was a good flick. So the next one I'm getting is the Evil Dead remake, because I don't know if you saw on my channel, I'm going through all the Evil Dead films. I did The Evil Dead, obviously we talked about that. Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness review just came out today. I'm working on going through Ash vs. Evil Dead show again, and then I'll do a review on that. And then I'm going to do a review on the Evil Dead remake. And then I will have taken care of all those until Evil Dead Rise comes out. And then I'll do that one. Ex Machina is excellent. It is. Jagger Loco, what's up, man? Welcome. Yes, I did watch Host, actually. I got a screener copy of Host before it came out and did a review and posted it before it came out. That's actually one of my review videos that's had higher viewership than normal. Fede Alvarez is a great director. Yes. Agree with that. That movie is super good. Yeah, Ex Machina. Yeah, it's good. Don't Breathe was great too. So I had heard like a crazy amount of hype about Don't Breathe. So when I watched it, I was a little bit let down. I still liked it, but I had heard like such an insane amount of hype with it that it didn't live up to the amount of hype that it was getting, which was unfortunate. If you remember the film Tourist Trap with Chuck Connors. Oh, I certainly do. Last movie you watched with VFW. Paul, was VFW good? Because I've heard it's good. It looks good. Oh, I had to tell you guys this. So there are these movie trailers. There are two movies I heard about. They're not out yet, but they're trailers for them. And I checked out the trailers, and they look fun. The first one is called Aqua Slash, and it is basically about people who have a party at a water park, and a serial killer's there and rigs the water slides and other rides, rigs them up to kill people. Aqua Slash. Check out the trailer. And then the other one is called Slacks. It's spelled Slaxx. It's about killer pants. Specifically looks like a pair of jeans that kill people. Looks ridiculous. It's by the producers of Turbo Kid. I'm in. It looks ridiculous. I didn't see the first film, but I did see Color Out of Space. Yeah, man. Tight White, if you have anything to say about Color Out of Space, we had talked about it. Say right now. We can keep going. Full Moon is now selling Mr. Slauson action figure. Are you serious, John? That's cool, though. I like that. Heather, you like VFW. Cool. It's a fun watch. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's in my DVD queue. My Netflix DVD queue, so I'll be getting to it at some point. Killer Pants, I'm in. Yes, Heather. That's what I said. When I just heard about it and hadn't seen the trailer yet, I was like, I know I'm probably going to watch this anyway, but I also want to see the trailer just to get me a little more excited. Yeah, Aqua Slash. Seriously, watch the trailers for Slacks and Aqua Slash. They look promising. Yeah, probably micro budget, Paul. You're right. Oh, I haven't seen I haven't seen Rise of the Animals, Paul. Might have to check that one out if that's so low budget. Everyone watch the trailer for Rise of the Animals. Okay. I'll pull it up on my phone. I won't watch it right now, but I'll just pull it up so I remember. So it's like right there when I get back on my phone later. Rise of the Animals trailer. Oh, well, apparently the full movie's on there. On YouTube. Alright. I feel like now's a good time for me to just go ahead and tell you guys what films we're going to do for the next one. Which is going to be September... I got it. Hold on. I got it. September 26th. A movie I think is great is a zombie movie filmed in West Africa by the Boyd brothers called The Dead from 2010. I think I've seen that one. Is the cover of that one a guy who's got a shotgun and he's wearing a gas mask? Is that it? Because I've seen that. So anyway, so the films that we're going to do for September 26th, like I said, it's inspired by the New Rue Morgue, the golden age of Italian horror. So we're going to do two of the Italian horror films that I've been wanting to rewatch recently because I like them a lot. We're going to do Dario Argento's Tenebrae, which is on Shudder at the moment, and Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead, which is also on Shudder at the moment. So you can watch both of them on Shudder. Should be a good time. Tenebrae is very interesting. It's one of those, if you know Argento, it's very like story heavy about like who's the murderer. I mean, it's giallo, so Black Glove Killer, who's the murderer type mystery thing. And then the City of the Living Dead, I think, is just like, it's absurd. Like it's an absurd, ridiculous film, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoy them. And actually, let me know, have you guys seen both of those, or either of them you have not seen? Tenebrae is great. Love the Iron Maiden soundtrack. Yeah, Tenebrae is, it's one of my favorite Argento films. And City of the Living Dead is probably my favorite Lucio Fulci film. Yeah, John, totally. Both great films. So that's what we're going to do. So it should be a really fun one for the 26th. One of Argento's best movies. Totally agree, Paul. Totally agree. I also really like Deep Red, and I always have a hard time. I'm like, do I like Tenebrae or Deep Red more? Flash of the Blade. The first movie I just reviewed when I found it at Goodwill was Wendigo. Anyone seen it? No, I haven't seen it. My next review is on the Jackhammer Massacre, which I found at Half Price Books. I'm watching that tonight. Hey, let me know how that is, because that sounds fun. Oh, okay, Paul. The Beyond's your favorite Fulci film. That's a good one too. It is a good time. But man, City of the Living Dead. There's just so much fun stuff in it. House by the Cemetery. Yep, also good. Deep Red's amazing. Yep. Agreed. I actually have a playlist on my YouTube channel for reviews of Dario Argento films, and I have another playlist for reviews of Lucio Fulci films, and then I have a playlist of reviews of Giallo films. So, if you can't tell, I do like my Italian horror, and I've been hitting that relatively hard over the past bunch of months. Suspiria and Deep Red, so good. It's hard to believe it's the same director who made Mother of Tears. I have not seen Mother of Tears. I've heard it's terrible, but I will say I watched Inferno and I did not like Inferno. So if Mother of Tears is worse than Inferno, it must be total trash. And Asia Argento is terrible. Okay, Paul. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that plenty of times. Which also on Shudder at the moment, which I have not seen yet, so I will watch and review soon-ish, is Stendhal Syndrome by Dario Argento, and that has Asia Argento in it. So, yeah, I will be feeling what you're saying. I'm willing to take a drill to the head to watch City of the Living Dead. That's an awesome rhyme, by the way, John. John, I love that rhyme. Yeah, the drill to the head scene in that movie. Yeah. Just like, there's so many fun scenes in City of the Living Dead. So many fun scenes. I love it. Anyone seen Two Evil Eyes by Romero and Argento? No, I haven't, but I need to. That's also been on my DVD Netflix queue for a long time. My DVD Netflix queue is constantly maxed out. You can only have 500 DVDs in your queue at a time. So it's always maxed out. Always. And I have plenty on there that I have been on there for years that I have not gotten to. Because I just have this problem where I'm like, I'll watch one from Netflix DVD, and then I'll watch a bunch of stuff streaming, and then I'll watch some stuff from my personal collection, and I just keep like rotating around. Oh, by the way, here's another thing. I'm having a review come out for it probably sometime in October. Spookies. Oh, whoops, upside down. Spookies. But Vinegar Syndrome put this out. This is an experience. This Blu-ray has a lot of special features to it, so I'm excited to get into it. But there's like a making of documentary on here, and then there's a documentary on all the backstory on what happened with this film. Crazy, weird backstory to it, but this film is fun. It's basically two movies smacked together, which is weird, but it's a good time. Trust me. There's some good stuff in there. I'm excited to dig further into this Blu-ray, and just know the review on this for my channel is coming in the next month or so. I've actually been doing a lot of reviews and just banking them because I want to put out extra stuff in October, and I want to see maybe how much extra stuff I can put out in October. So I'm trying to do as many reviews now and bank it. So we'll see. I mean, my goal is to definitely put out 4 reviews a week as opposed to 2 every week in October, but I might do more if I feel like I can, because I also want to like balance the work of doing that with me also just hanging out and enjoying some horror films for October, because that's what I love about October. I like to kind of like really relax and watch some films, because I'm planning on watching a bunch of films that I've already watched a lot of times and done reviews on for the channel, so I don't need to do that. Oh, Two Evil Eyes is bad. I still want to watch it. I used to have zombie poster on my wall. Great poster. We are going to eat you. It is a good poster. I'm sure it's a good poster. I assume it looks like the cover of DVD and Blu-ray. The effects were great on zombies. Yeah. Fulci was ahead of his time. Yeah, I could see that. There's actually a documentary about Lucio Fulci that just came out through. Is that through Vinegar Syndrome as well? No, that's through Severin. Severin Films. They just put out. It's called Fulci for Fake, and apparently it's a documentary that was. Some guy was supposed to play Lucio Fulci in some movie, and then he went and wanted to know more about Lucio Fulci, and that led to this documentary of like deep diving into Fulci's life. So I kind of really want to check that out. What was the consensus on Color Out of Space? I was late to the party. I thought it was pretty cool. Nothing excellent. Tight White, we all said that we liked it a decent amount. Obviously, the strongest part about it is the visuals. But I have a review on my channel for it, so if you want to see my full breakdown, we covered a lot of the same stuff. Just check out, just put in to the search function of YouTube, Carlin Cook Color Out of Space, and it'll get you to the review. Because there's a lot of like subtext and theme stuff. But one of the most important things to realize when watching this film is that Richard Stanley, when he worked on this, it was kind of like a way for him to work through the fact that he had just lost his mother to cancer, and a lot of the film ties into the deterioration physically and mentally of a person who has cancer. So just know that. Yeah, I haven't seen it though. Got it, Paul. I give Color Out of Space an unknown number of not llamas mushed together out of some other unknown number. Playing heavy on the Lovecraft there, I see, John. Cat in the Brain, anyone? No, I haven't seen Cat in the Brain. Another one that is on my DVD queue, or in my DVD queue. Oh, here we go. Where Lavernia is going to start, like, glowing and stuff. God, like, all the pink color coming out of the well is pretty cool. Great lighting. So he's like, I guess her, like, DNA has changed. Because her eyes start glowing and the hydrologist looks in and it's like it's showing her insides. Yeah. That's just totally been changed by the color. It's like a religious experience he's having. The Psychic. Have not seen. The grass is growing. Yes, you can get a Netflix DVD only plan. Perfect. Perfect. Stick with that, man. Ooh. At some point I might consider that actually myself. Because like I was saying, like, their horror selections poop. I do it for, I watch it for some other things, but there isn't a ton on there that I'm that excited about. Do you think him throwing the cigarette in the river at the end was an FU to cancer and to the world? Huh. I hadn't considered that, Tight White, but yeah, I could definitely see that as being that. That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know what kind of cancer Richard Stanley's mother had, so maybe she had it from smoking. That's possible. And maybe that, made it more of a symbol. Yeah, I don't know. I do find it, I don't know. Like, I feel conflicted on that very end of the film where, to me, it partially feels like we don't need this afterthought of this guy talking about his feelings on what happened. But at the same time, it is kind of this interesting, like, this happened and then no one knows when something else might happen. I don't know. Just saying. All right. Anything else, folks? Because if not, I'm going to call it. Probably go watch some movies, do something with my wife, hang out. Actually, what I might end up doing is reading some more of this. There's in the beginning of this, the letter to from the editor. She was kind of talking about Halloween is not canceled. It's a state of mind, and it's the spirit of the time. That's totally right. Yeah, see you in 2 weeks, Paul. Yeah, so to refresh everyone then, Saturday, September 26th, same time, same YouTube channel, we're going to be doing Dario Argento's Tenebrae and Lucio Fulci's The City of the Living Dead. I'm very excited for these. Hopefully everyone else is. It's going to be great. And yes, Paul, Rue Morgue Magazine the name is based off of Murders in the Rue Morgue. That is accurate. I don't think I'm going to do a stream on Halloween. Well, let me look. Would it line up that way? It's a good question. No, it's not lining up that way. I don't think I'm going to do a stream on Halloween. But at least the first stream in October, which would be October 10th, we are going to do something different. We might still do one movie as a topic, but then we're also going to do something else during the stream. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll find out at the time. But no, I don't think I'm going to stream on Halloween, especially because I like to take Halloween as like my personal day to just like feel the holiday because it's my favorite and just soak up certain films. Main one is I always have to watch Trick or Treat. I love it. Not Trick or Treat, Trick or Treat. Bela Lugosi. Yes, Murders in the Rue Morgue, yeah. Lugosi. So yeah, awesome people. I am excited for the next one. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully everyone has a good night. Unfortunately, Uncle Pete wasn't able to join us because he's not feeling well. Hopefully he's better and is able to join us for the next one. And Marshall was visiting a family member, unfortunately. So hopefully he comes back next time. Tight White, I subbed with this new channel. You guys be safe and out there and enjoy some good horror movies. Thank you, Tight White, and to you as well. Have a good night, everyone. Yes, you as well, Heather. Bye, all. Yes, Paul. Bye to you. Good night, all. Back to my basement dwelling chores. Have fun with that, John. And until next time, keep it brutal.